Hello everyone, my name's Jen. I'm not always social, but one day I wanted to change and decided to throw a party. For a person who has never hosted a party before, it was a strange experience, and thank God there were no casualties. You had no idea what my guests and I had to go through. But don't worry, I'll tell you the whole story. Life in school is very boring. It's like Groundhog's Day, only worse. I've always tried new things in an attempt to somehow diversify my routine. And one day, my friend Phoebe suggested something. She said that when everything gets dull and boring, she likes to fall in love. I thought this was stupid because I'd never felt this way, and it always seemed that people in love were idiots. By the way, I was bad socially, especially around guys. I'm even surprised that I even have a friend like Phoebe. Then again, she's got her own quirks. She drags on about all things hipster and stuff I will never understand. She's really into love, music, and she could literally spend hours playing the guitar and singing songs that only her cat appears to listen to, and that's because it's deaf. And no, I'm not trying to be mean, but you ever wanted to hear a seal sing? If yes, you should definitely meet Phoebe. Overall, she was awesome and really nice to me. Sometime later, while I was dying of boredom at school, he burst into my life. It happened unexpectedly, and as luck would have it, I looked worse than a janitor. Sorry, Mr. Schneebly. I hadn't had a shower, and my clothes reeked of sweat after running into school. I was running late, so I ran to class and sat down. The boy followed me in. This wonderful guy, with his perfect smile, just killed all the girls, including me. His name was Michael, and he was transferred to us from another school, and the teacher put him right next to me. As soon as he sat down, I couldn't stop glancing at him, and he looked at me, wanted to smile, but he immediately began to sniff. Damn, I thought. Disgust was on his face. My stupid sweaty sweatshirt ruined everything. I just turned away in shame and moved a little away from him. Then, my arch nemesis, Abby, walked by. She could just never keep her mouth shut. Ew! Jen, it's been a year. Take a shower already. Or is it Mr. Schneebly's sweatshirt? She said sarcastically, and everyone laughed. I was ready to sink into the ground. Phoebe sat behind me. She always had my back. Hey Abby, I saw you at the beauty salon yesterday, Phoebe said. I go there almost every day, answered Abby. Your ads for mustache removal look great. By the way, my dad looked like that when he was your age, responded my friend, and the whole class laughed again. Abby made a displeased face and walked past. Phoebe smiled back at me. When class was over, the girls surrounded Michael and began to ask where he came from and stuff. I just got my things and left for another class. After school, Phoebe asked what I was going to do to get his attention, but I said, "Are you kidding me? They're way prettier than me. It's a lost cause." She immediately responded, "What, them? You mean girls like Abby? I swear if you take away all her cosmetic procedures, she'd look like my dad. Have you really never seen her mustache?" This made me laugh. And then Phoebe suggested I should throw a big party and invite Michael. At first, the idea seemed stupid, so I refused. But the next day at school, Abby started making fun of me again. She saw that I liked Michael and hovered around him like a fly. Abby then told the class that in 2 weeks her parents were leaving for Paris, so the house was free for a hangout. Everyone screamed in anticipation for the party. I realized that if not now, then never. Come to mine this weekend. My parents won't be there either, so hang out at mine first. This burst out of my mouth. Everyone fell silent with shock, and only Michael answered, "Yeah, sure, I'll come." I was glad to hear that. After school, I walked and talked to Phoebe, cursing myself for what I announced to everyone. But she reassured that everything would be fine. The rest of the week I was nervous, and then the long-awaited day came. I felt it in my gut that something bad would happen, but I thought that was just the excitement and self-doubt talking. When my parents left, I started preparing at home. Phoebe helped me out. Then I took long showers, put on makeup, and then the bell finally rang. Michael was the first one to come. "Oh, hi, come in," I told him. He entered the house and brought several large boxes of pizza. I thanked him, and we sat down on the couch and thought, damn, what do I talk to him about? "Oh, the pizza's delicious," I told him. "Yeah, I love it too," he replied awkwardly. "There's a lot of cheese." You know, as a kid, I got very puffy from it. Only then I realized that I was talking nonsense. It's a good thing that Michael didn't have time to answer, because the doorbell rang right then. I opened the door, and there was a crowd of people lined up. All my classmates came. They brought in barrels of some sort of hot liquid, more pizzas, got speakers for music, and the party had officially begun. Nobody noticed me, but I was used to it. I started to look for Michael, but he was nowhere to be found. I asked Phoebe if she had seen him, but she shrugged and said he might be outside. I went out and saw him surrounded by guys. They talked about something and drank. Then Abby came up to me, took me aside, and said that the party was okay, but she thanked me for inviting her. It was strange. Being nice did not suit her. I said no problem, and went to look for Michael, but he disappeared again. At this time, I heard a loud noise. Someone had broken my mom's beloved vase. Oh no, I thought, and ran into the house. While I was cleaning up, Phoebe ran up to me and told me that Michael was nowhere to be found. We called him, no answer. And then he answered the phone, but I only heard fragments of his voice, almost moans of pain. Phoebe and I ran to look for him, but it was no use. About an hour had passed and I was seriously worried. And only when we were about to call the police, Phoebe heard sounds under the hatch. We rushed to the backyard and I saw Michael was stuck in the hatch. We barely pulled him out, hands trembling with fear. He was dirty and he wasn't breathing. I knew CPR and started to provide him with artificial respiration. Everybody gathered around. No one knew what to do. Is he dead? Abby asked. I didn't know what to do. It was so scary. I tried to give him chest compressions, slap him, but it was useless. It was clear that he was dying. Oh no, but how? I cried. Exhausted, I sat next to him and began to cry. There was silence. No one moved. Suddenly, I felt a rumbling in my stomach. I couldn't hold it in any longer, and a loud fart sounded, and then again. Burp. I was embarrassed. It was the cheese that I ate from the pizza. I looked at the people and their faces began to change. They struggled to contain their laughter. I tried to get up, but I farted even more. My minute of shame dragged on. And then suddenly, it was the pizza, wasn't it? Michael's barely audible voice sounded. Oh my God, Michael, you're alive! I shouted, and began to hug him. Everyone breathed in sigh of relief. It looks like your pizza will never revive the dead, shouted one of the guys from the crowd, and everyone laughed. But I was just happy he was alive. We lifted Michael up and carried him into the house. When he gathered himself, he said that he had drunk something strange and lost consciousness. He didn't remember how he got under the hatch, but he woke up from the familiar scent of sweat and loud farts, which got him to regain his consciousness. Since then, we hit it off and have been dating, but I no longer throw parties or eat pizza with cheese. If you liked the video, then please leave a like and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe.
Hello everyone, my name is Abby. I want to share with you a story about my crush, the story of how fate worked everything out so that we would be together. I will tell you how it happened and then what came of it. I'm 14 years old and I have a crush on a guy. It happened a long time ago. I just didn't think it was actual love. It was simple for us. We lived close to each other. Our parents have known each other for many years as well. As neighbors, they often visited each other, celebrated the holidays, and the Fields family had a son named Vance, and we grew up together. When we were kids, he helped me build doll houses. We played together on the playgrounds where he protected me from other boys. My parents always said that Vance had an excellent upbringing, and their approval of him brought me closer to him. I always thought playing together and holding hands was normal. The parents joked that in 15 years they would become family. This thought stuck in my head and I grew up with it in my mind. I was okay with that long-term goal. Frankly, I did not even think of finding a boyfriend because there he was. I always had Vance. He and I went through a lot together. We were next to each other in victories and failures, and I always felt our harmony. I felt it was supposed to be like that we were created for each other. There was no other explanation. As we grew up together, everything around us seemed to change. Our friends, environment, habits, tastes, but our connection with him remained the same. Vance was my crush, and I accepted this idea a long time ago. I was still waiting for him to finally kiss me, but until this happened, I did not want to rush anything. I felt like this had to be a very special occasion, that everything would happen in time, and we must not forget about our trust. I was always glad to see him. We spent a lot of time together. Vance loved to ride bikes, and he even taught me. I rode it for him, even though I did not like the terrible pain in my knees after cycling. When we turned 14, I knew for sure that my first kiss should be with him and only him. No other options were considered. I knew Vance like the back of my hand. I could even predict what mood he would be in the morning. My mom began to ask more and more questions about him, but I had nothing to say. I just said that everything was fine, and everything was essentially the same as before. This kind of made me panic because almost 12 years have passed since we met, and since then, nothing has changed. I mean, we're close, but not enough to date. We're like relatives or something, and only I was the one who had deep feelings for him. At one point, I was so desperate and decided that maybe I shouldn't have illusions. But then my friend Rachel, it was she who said that the strongest marriages are those between two best friends. She also added that sometimes men are too shy when it comes down to it and said to take the initiative into my own hands. At first, I did not like the idea, but then I realized that it was not so bad. Rachel and I began to carefully develop a plan of action. Everything had to happen as if by chance, but in fact, we would arrange everything on purpose. So it was decided. We chose a day and a place. Rachel had a family house in the countryside, and she suggested that the four of us go there, her and her boyfriend, and then me and Vance. At first, when we proposed this idea to Vance, he was embarrassed, said that it was a weird group, but then we said that it was just a formality. I hoped that the romantic atmosphere would open up his feelings and he would finally date me or at least kiss me. In the end, he agreed, so I put on the best dress in my wardrobe and rehearsed my love declaration speech. I was looking forward to our kiss, my first kiss. Everything was supposed to be very romantic, as I anticipated. We arrived at the house with Rachel first, before the boys, cooked dinner, opened the wine, and then waited for them. As soon as Vance and Tony arrived, we sat down at the table and began to eat, drink, and chat. Overall, everything went well. We laughed and joked a lot. The evening passed unnoticed, playing board games and watching horror films. I tried to snuggle up to Vance, but he kept running to the toilet or getting water all the time. It seemed to me that he was just nervous. Of course, he was also preparing for the first kiss. When it was deep into the night, we began to go to our rooms. Vance thought that the girls would be sleeping separately, and then when he found out that we were separated into couples, he became even more nervous. It was so sweet. I knew he would behave this way and asked Rachel to help. She had unscrewed the light bulb in the bedroom beforehand, and then we asked Vance to screw it in. While he was doing this, Rachel locked us in a room from the outside and we were left completely alone. Smiling, I walked slowly up to Vance. I looked him straight into the eyes, but he kept turning away. It amused me even more. He moved further and further, and then I came closer and closer. And when there was no more room left, he made such a disgusted face like I fed him worms. I came closer and waited for a reaction, but Vance just stuck to the wall and stood there like an idiot. "What's the matter with you?" I shouted in his face. To which Vance replied, "What's the matter with me? What's wrong with you? I feel like I'm trapped and it's also very apparent that you're hitting on me. But this is so wrong," he shouted back. At that moment, I abruptly pulled away from him and did not know what to do next. I asked him why it was wrong, because we were created for each other, because we had loved each other ever since childhood, and is it not right and logical to be together not only as friends? We're so close and know everything about each other. However, Vance believed that this was all just childhood memories and feelings. Then I finally realized that I had actually been in a friend zone for a while, and I did not even have time to understand when it happened. I felt very sad and hurt at that moment. How could I live for so many years creating unreal expectations? How could I not see what was on the surface? Vance loved me only as a friend, and that cannot be changed. I felt bad and ashamed of myself. I looked at him and then turned away so that he would not see my tears. Vance said that he was sorry, but I did not want to hear him anymore. I knocked on the door for Rachel to open it. She was very confused at the sight of my teary face, and I could not explain anything. I just ran out to the bathroom and locked myself in there. Vance felt that I needed to be alone. Of course, he knows me so damn well. The rest of the night, I sat with Rachel. She comforted me and listened to me, and I just spoke it all out. We fell asleep in the morning, and now I had to somehow look him in the eyes, and his parents as well. I gathered my courage, returned home, and tried to pretend that nothing had happened. Vance looked at me with the same kind eyes. I now decided that I had to change. I just could not leave as before. Over time, my mom started asking me questions, and I did not hide anything. I told everything as it is. She perfectly understood my feelings and allowed me to go on vacation to another city to unwind. So I went. It helped me distract myself. It was as if I took a breath of fresh air. I will not go into details of my vacation. I can only say that the pain did not go away, but was muted. On my arrival, I met Vance at my house. He came to talk to me when he learned that I was back. Honestly, I missed him a lot. He was with me almost all my life, and then suddenly we abruptly stopped talking. It was so weird. I wanted to run up to him and hug him, chat as we did before, but now it felt like a luxury. I waved my hand at him and closed the door. It was difficult, but I tried. 2 months have passed since then. Do you think we should still talk as friends? But how can I do this if I still have feelings for him? And generally, what would you do if you were in my place? If you like this story, then give it a thumbs up and leave us some comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe.